Counselor Accents Podcast. Two school counselors who love their jobs. Oh, and they happen to have Southern accents too. Bless their hearts.
I'm Laura Rankhorn.
And I am Kim Crumley. And together we are Counselor Accents, two school counselors who are in the trenches with you.
We know what you're going through because we're living it every single day.
Greetings.
And to you.
And to you, love. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I feel like
your hair looks great.
Oh.
The red looks great on you. You're just, thank you for trying.
You're welcome. I decided to put forth a little bit more effort because we can do better.
We can do better. We can do better.
So we just had a Behavior Detour conference, as everybody knows, because we talked about it on every podcast and we put it on our social media. So you're probably like, would you two please stop talking about this Behavior Detour conference? And the answer to that is no, because we still have some things to share from it.
Yes. And some very, we thought there was a couple of things that we wanted to share from that would help school counselors for sure with situations. So
yeah, we hosted some live chat events within the conference. And I remember, like, you never know what you're going to get because you're dealing with people's questions that they've submitted. And it's kind of an extemporaneous type, like off the cuff, like just what comes to your mind. And you've got a panel of people. You don't really know. It's almost like training cats because we're not responsible for how they answer. We don't know.
Right. I don't know what that has to do with training cats because...
Well, in my mind, I thought they could go in different directions. Like, what if somebody says, I think that this is what you need to do, and somebody else comes across the screen and they're like, that's absolutely not what you're supposed to do. And then you've got a cat fight. We don't know.
Oh, okay. That's where I just could not... I didn't know where you went to have cats trained. So I'm like, I don't know where she's come up with the cat training.
I did mean to say dogs.
Thank you. That's all I wanted you to do is just acknowledge the stupidity of saying,
but no, because once I thought it through, I'm like, it actually does make sense.
I love the way you tried to make it make sense, like a cat fight. I mean, you ended with that to whirl it around and make it make sense instead of just saying, I meant dog fight.
I messed up.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, you just don't know. But I remember being about 5 minutes into it, and I'm just going to say electricity. Like, it was just electric. The environment, the atmosphere. I just thought this is so. The wisdom is palpable. Because everything that everybody was saying, it just built on each other so well, and we got off of that thing and we said this has got to be a podcast because we felt like it was too good not to share. And I think a lot of the questions that were asked, people are dealing with. So anyway, we were hosting that event at a hotel. And that's really where I want our intro to start.
Yes.
It's not that I want to publicly chastise you, but I kind of do.
It is when you are it's when you've got too many balls in the air.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where I'm going to take care. You were still, complaining and griping about your body parts and going in and out of CAT scans and going back to the hospital, all this stuff. So I had to step up.
Well, and I want to say this to defend my
thank you.
bowels.
I want to say thank you for stepping up.
Not yet. I don't think it's any secret. I think we say this a lot. And it was out of your own mouth. I've said it before privately, but you said it publicly a few weeks ago that I'm the workhorse, you're the show horse. And so if something's going to get done, a lot of times it's going to not be from you.
Okay. I love the way you tried to tenderly tell me that. It's right up there with the way you tenderly told me my breath stunk. There's just no way of easy saying. You're right. She does most of the work.
You're so funny, and
and look at me. Okay,
look at you. You're a smoke show.
So anyway, right.
And so but it's not for lack of trying because you will say, "Okay, give me something," but I don't always hand things over. I don't trust you always.
Just say it. And this is one of those times where you trusted me.
Uh-huh.
And I kimmed it up. I tempted that.
And what is it that you say your dad would give you to work on?
Oh, he would give me a board and nails, and I would think I was helping with something. And really, now I know I was just nailing a board that went nowhere. It was just faux work, if you
And
will.
so a lot of times I'll give you
Faux work.
boards with the nails.
Yes, with the nails.
And this was a time I decided to trust you with something that you couldn't possibly mess up. Go ahead.
But why would you say that when we ended up in New York in the complete wrong, not near Manhattan at all? I mean, it was, but anyway, this particular incident, I am feeling very cocky, because I have made the reservations. We arrive, we're getting all ready. I go in, and Chris is behind the desk, and I say, Chris, crumbly party of two here. And he was like, oh, that was yesterday. And I'm like, I just felt like the last straw. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, it needs to be tonight. And he said, I'm sorry.
And I immediately start just laughing, like not raucous laughter, but just chuckling, because it's comical at this point. And I reached into my bag, and I'm just getting out our debit card, because I'm like, okay, we're just going to pay for another night.
Yes. But I wasn't going to let it go, because I'm like, no, Chris, surely I'm not the only person on earth who has put the wrong date down.
Well, and I don't think you believed him at first.
Was a rule follower. Like, we learned that through the weekend. Precious, but the rule was the rule. And there was nothing. It was completely out of, if he said, I'm just the guy behind the desk once, he said it a million times. And I'm like, that's what you do behind the desk. You help us figure these things out. I don't know what he thought his job was, but it was nothing, because he's just the guy behind the desk. But we did like him.
He could, the only thing that he could do without checking with the manager was he did get us a toothbrush. And because we had each forgotten our toothbrush. And if you were in Missouri or Nebraska when we keynoted, you know what happens when we don't have a toothbrush. I'm not going into detail. Don't say it, Kim. But
we've regretted saying it ever since.
It was important that we actually asked the front desk for a toothbrush. Go ahead.
So anyway, I realized that we're not even here on the right day. So I ended up calling the Marriott and the headquarters. They were like, well, it's up to the hotel. And you said, just give up. And I thought, nay. And so I went back into Chris. I said, Chris, I know you're the guy behind the desk. Is the manager here? And which he didn't say to begin with. So the manager comes out, and he could not have been more precious. Because, I went into my I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's like, well, I'm going to help you. Because I'm like, I don't know. We learned this tip from Bobby Hudson, a man that we have heard speak, and he's wonderful. And just, you can get more flies with honey. And so I'm just being really sweet. Ends up his mother was a teacher for 50-something years.
He showed us her picture. Precious.
He showed us her picture. By the time I was through and he was through, we had exchanged numbers. We are now texting. We're best friends. And he was like, this snack bar here is your oyster. Anything you want,
you did not take advantage of. And
I did not, but I did go on TripAdvisor or whatever and just gave him and Chris, who's a rule follower, a great rating. If that helps, if that's of any help.
And it was because Chris came out and basically begged us to give him a TripAdvisor review.
That's true. He
brought it out, and he told us he had health problems, and we can cut this out if I need to. But, my heart went out to him whenever he said he had health problems, because my bowels are hanging together with a thread, as we have said before. So
we're waiting on that.
Like, I thought, oh gosh. And let me say this before I go into his health problems. He actually told me before you were able to deliver the great news, because he was out smoking a cigarette.
Right.
And he announced, like Paul Revere, he was like, hey, they're going to be able to do it. And I was like, what? And he was like, they're going to be able to fix your room. And I was like, you're kidding. And he said, nope. He said, the manager's here. The AGM walked in. And I don't know what AGM stands for, but he was like, the AGM is here and he's going to fix it all. And I was like, thank you,
This
Chris.
is cracking me up. It wasn't like we were in this big, luxurious hotel, the AGM. That is cracking me up.
Yeah. So anyway, he walks over to us, hands us, we're getting ready for one of our live chats. He walks over and hands us a Post-it note. And he's like, if you feel so inclined to go on TripAdvisor and give us a great review, that would be very much appreciated, which I know sometimes we say at the end of our podcast. I get it now. I hear it and I see it. And he told us he was dealing with some health issues. So
And
I was
remember,
like,
Chris has done nothing for us.
he's not helped us.
Nothing
The only
at
thing-
all, except for the toothbrushes, and that's
We-
it.
Yeah. Yeah. We even asked to use that little room off to the side that nobody ever goes into. And we're like, hey, can we
I'm
just
just the
step
guy
in here?
behind the. I'm just the
I'm-
guy behind the
I'm-
desk. I can't
I-
let you use that room.
I can't tell you if you can or you can't. I'm just the guy behind the desk. And we were like, okay.
That is your job. That is
That's your
literally
job.
your job.
And so then Kim is like, you say, well, we'll be praying for your health issues, because he's going into great detail about how it's really derailed his
Whole life.
whole
And we're
life.
just like, we don't know
Gosh.
what has happened to you. And then when he throws out I'm having some trouble sleeping.
Which may be a real thing. And if you're listening and you have sleep apnea, our hearts go out to you.
I don't even know if he used the word apnea. I don't even know if I would go that far. But he
Okay.
no, I want to say try going through menopause. And let's just come back when you've gone through menopause and you wake up and it's 800 degrees
Yeah.
and
I
you
mean,
haven't slept in 6 months.
Guess like the way that he was really going on about his health issues, I was a little bit let down when it was just trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
That
We should
sounds
say,
so
we're not saying
insensitive.
it's not good. It's not good, but we were thinking, how much longer? And then, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you alluded to it that I did trust you with this task.
I
And
did. You did. Yep.
the fact that, and I know we've already talked about this on another podcast, that we went to New York City and you were in charge of adding a night to our already booked hotel. We added a night and you said, I'll go in and add another night. Let me do this one thing. And I said, okay. And you, instead of getting our Times Square hotel, you got us one in Soho. But here's the thing. It always
It always works out.
It turns
just
into-
trust me.
and this is why we have low blood pressure, because nothing ruffles our feathers. We're okay.
Yep.
We're going to go with the flow. And then, I hate to just keep bringing it up over and over again, but there was that one time that we stayed in Montgomery
Oh, geez.
got there.
Here we go.
and they said, oh, that was actually for last night.
It's like whatever day I'm making the reservation, it's that night. I just put that night in.
Oh my gosh.
But it always works out.
It always works out. And true, maybe it works out to the tune of an extra $250, but hey. Oh my goodness. We don't sweat the small stuff, and it always works out.
Yeah, that's a good see, I try you for these reasons. It helps you grow as a person.
True. So without any further ado, we are going to go into this. I just went blank. I totally just went. I forgot where I was. I forgot what I'm doing.
What's my name? I've pooped my pants.
I was thinking, I hope that this intro is not boring, but I thought we should send it to Chris and it might help him sleep.
You just said it. It's perfect.
Oh my goodness.
We have the remedy. Listen to this podcast.
Chris, you don't need a CPAP. You just need to
Listen.
listen to this.
Oh.
Anyway,
Well, sit back and enjoy. You're going to hear some questions that were sent to us, and we relayed these to experts. These are all people who spoke at our behavior conference. And it's just a few of the many, but they really know what they're talking about. An impressive group of people. So enjoy.
Thank you all for participating in the Behavior Detour 2025 second annual Behavior Detour Conference. We are so glad that you guys are here with us. And thank you. We have participants and we have panel guests. So we thank everybody who's on here with us. And just unmute your mic, put it in chat, whatever you feel comfortable doing. I think we had, what are your burning questions? So we are going to start with question number 1. If you feel comfortable answering this, then we would love to hear. If this is like your jam, please answer. If not, I will call on the genius, Mr. B, at a moment's notice. So let's go ahead. And Laura, do you have the first question?
I do. We would almost like to see some fighting between you guys to answer. If so, I think that would liven it up. Yes. So
Ginger is so sweet with her. Like Mr. B is like punching,
like
and Ginger's like little kitten paws. Okay, here we go.
So the first question that we have, I am pulling it up now. It comes to us from Kyle, and he says, different approaches to behaviors sometimes cause conflicts between coworkers, and I feel like we can all give a little amen to that. He's got a 2-part question here. He says, what's the best way to handle these conflicts? But then he also wants to know, what can he do to be proactive in the future to kind of set the groundwork for that? So that's coming to us from Kyle. So gloves off, whoever wants to take the first hit. Yes.
Okay, Carrie.
I would say, I think PD for your staff is really important, because that's gonna, and of course that's that proactive piece, but I think reaching all the staff and kind of teaching them about trauma and, what is going to help those kids and eventually will help them in the classroom, letting them understand the why behind the things that we do. I think that would be a really important step. Of course, in the moment as they're responding and they're maybe, I don't get this, why are you doing this? I think just educating them, but then trying to get a staff PD going, or even just an email. It could be little email snippets that you could do, hey, this week I'm going to teach you one thing about trauma, just sending this out to you. This is why we take breaks. This is what it does for the brain. I think just educating your staff so that they understand the why behind some of the approaches that we take.
Well said.
Yeah,
Beth.
To build on that, I think patience and persistence. Even within an office of 3 counselors, we had different approaches. And I think the continuing education piece for the teachers, especially and I can say I'm pretty old school, and the old school teachers and their habits and their ways of doing things, and they don't like that change very much, but that continuing piece of education, that continuing piece of putting it in front of them, and watching you and watching it work with what you're doing. So that, I think, patience and persistence going along with that education is very, very invaluable.
Love it. Malpal, we see that hand.
Isn't that little hand so cute? I just have to use it. I'm going to steal an idea from our dear friend Tracy Chauvin. She is in KCK. And to piggyback off what Beth and Carrie both said, she does a trauma tip Tuesday where she sends out a tip every week. And you can really tell the classrooms that read those and that practice those.
Wow.
And then we also do PD, of course, during the year. But at the beginning of the year, when I introduce myself and what the counselor is for and our teamwork with the admin, I, of course, try to put on a dog and pony show and say, when your kids are at home and they're in trouble, do you call your neighbor to punish them, or have consequences. You don't. You might call in backup like an aunt or an uncle or something to give them a pep talk, but think of the counselor as the aunt or the uncle. You're calling for help. And so, Kyle, that's a great question, is now you've called for help, now you got to be hands off. Or if you want to do a wraparound meeting and have a plan for that kid of what happens and if it continues to happen and what those next steps are. But if it's kind of a care call or a crisis call, if you will, sometimes you got to give that freedom to that person that comes to help, unless there is a plan in place. And we've done a really nice job of that at my building, and I try to help my other counselors at my district understand that as well, and the teachers too. And we also tell them it's okay to ask for help. It is okay. We tell our students that. We have to tell our staff that too. And we also tell our staff, when you have a walkie call, we try not to say, Miss Smith needs assistance ASAP. We say, Miss Smith needs some ice. So if anybody could give her some ice, that would be great. And that literally means we go down and help Miss Smith, and she will take her cup, because we have a lovely ice machine, and she'll go get ice, or she'll go get some fresh air, or whatever she needs to do. But we try to do that in a positive way as well, instead of making it like 911, we all need hands on deck, because that also puts people in panic too. So that is such a great question, Kyle, and thank you so much for asking that. And Carrie and Beth, thank you for your information too.
Absolutely. I love the way that built on, because
each of you,
because it does start with the understanding, as Carrie said. And then I love the way we talked about continuing that training, because we know those brain pathways take a long time to change the way we think. And then Mallory, the way you just summed that all up, and we have to train those teachers. It's okay to ask for help. They need to be involved in that, but we're there to help. So that's brilliant. Yeah.
Mr. B has raised his hand, so he wants to contribute also.
Well, first, Laura and Kim, thanks for having me. This has been amazing. Y'all always do a really good job of putting this together.
Thank you.
Of course. So I want to build on what Mallory said and just tie this all up in a nice little bow. Because it actually is something that just happened to me a couple days ago. I always believe in restorative practices too. So if you have a conflict within a teacher and student and then a parent, like I had in this situation, a great way to do that is a restorative conference. So just a little quick backstory. This student was not turning in their work. They were rolling around on the floor, causing disruptions. The teacher was constantly emailing and communicating with the family, which is good. But mom called me and she's like, I'm tired of getting messages from this teacher. I'm tired of getting emails. I don't know what to do at this point. And so I said, all right, well, let me have a meeting with everybody, with you, the mom, the student, and the teacher, and let's come up with a plan. So before they all got started, because I knew it was going to be heated, I knew the teacher had her concerns, the parent had theirs. I'm like, let's ground this and we're going to come up with 3 goals for this student. So let's really only focus on what are the behaviors that we're seeing, and let's turn that into a positive goal. So as I heard the teacher explain what was going on, I said, okay, so what you're saying is this student needs to stay in their seat. That's goal number 1. Mom, are you in agreement? And so we came together, we created 3 goals. The parent left feeling good. The student felt feeling good. After a while, he needed a break to kind of reflect. But then the mom and the teacher were supported at the same time. So if you have any conflict, the best way to handle it is to listen to all sides of the story, show that you're validating their feelings, and then come up with a plan and a solution to support all parties.
Well,
brilliant.
Yes.
So many rubber meets the roads. Like I'm listening to you guys and I'm taking notes because it inspires me and it helps me know, okay, that's a great idea, because I'm thinking of a situation right now that we're going to round table, or I think Mallory called it a wraparound,
which was
brilliant. And we call it round table, where we're going to pull everybody. And I love those tips. So that was perfect. Thank y'all so much.
And aren't you like hearing these answers and thinking, gosh, we're good to bring them together?
They're brilliant.
I'm patting myself on the back, and I hope you are too.
So let's go to another question.
Number 2. Okay. So this one comes to us from Jess. Jess says, as a school counselor, I can see how the way teachers respond to the behaviors can play a big role in the success of the strategies we use with students. I'm not an administrator, but I am a leader. How do I validate teachers and their feelings while also letting them know that it may be a part of the problem? So, Mr. B, I think that's right there with what you were saying, because you were talking about validating everyone at the table. So I think that's a great second question there.
Can I clarify that a little bit? Because I'm not sure what are they wanting to make that very clear for me, what they're asking.
Okay.
What are they asking? How to validate the teachers, or how to let the teachers know, hey, you're part of the problem?
I think they want to do that, but in a nice way, to validate how they're feeling about the behaviors, instead of just, sometimes as school counselors, and I know not everyone here is a school counselor, but sometimes as school counselors, it may seem like we're taking the side of the student.
Yeah.
But they also want to validate how the teacher is feeling being in the classroom with those behaviors.
Because sometimes the teacher is the problem. Sometimes we are the problem.
Right.
Okay.
Woo! Okay, Kim's raised her hand.
I'm glad you understood that, Kim, and you're going with it.
Yes.
Go, girl.
I would love to chime in on this. I think that sometimes it is challenging to know how to go in and help support teachers without making them feel defensive or feeling like they're not doing a good job.
Oh,
One of the things that I try and do a lot that I think is helpful is taking some time to just sit in and kind of observe in a casual way in the classroom. I mean, teachers are used to me coming in and out a lot anyway. And a lot of times I do this in a way of a suggestion. So I might watch a lesson and think, oh, they could really use some extra movement in here to help the students be more regulated, or maybe they could give each student a job, or I might sit back and just, without even telling them I'm observing, because they're used to me kind of coming in and out anyway. And I might just make a suggestion and say, hey, I wonder, have you tried, having Johnny maybe have a job and help do this? Or have you tried, giving everyone in your class a job so they each have their own role? So this student, I'm thinking of a particular fourth grade class where there was a students were always kind of arguing about who was going to help and who was going to do this and who was going to do that. And it caused a lot of conflict. So sometimes I think just being able to offer positive suggestions can be a good lead in. And a lot of times teachers are fairly receptive, and might say, oh, I haven't tried that. Sometimes there will be pushback, or, oh yeah, I already tried everything. It's still horrible. It's still not working. But I do think that being able to be in the classroom more and kind of sit and observe is helpful. And I found that offering suggestions really works well.
I love that.
Great.
Yeah.
Kim, I love that. Hi, Queen.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Mel.
Hi, friend. I love that. And I will also be very upfront with my staff where I was not a teacher before becoming a counselor. And so I set that boundary and that line too. Like, hey, listen, if I were in your shoes, this is what I would do. And we do the Oreo effect. You give that foundation of the delicious chocolate. You give that positive. And then you give them some of those ideas and maybe some of that constructive advice, and then put the coating on where it's, sweet and sugary at the top, that Oreo. Sometimes those Oreos have to be double stuffed. So you got to give a little bit more. But I have another friend that says, oh, you just sugarcoat it all. Well, I don't want to say that, but sometimes, things, it helps a little bit with some sugar, and sometimes you get more bees with honey.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
Suggesting is great idea. I love that, Kim.
I do too. Carrie?
I thought of this with the first question and this one as well. I think it's important too to share our data, because that can show the effectiveness when they don't believe us, and they're pushing back. Like, then I can say, hey, I just had this student and we implemented breaks for the last 4 weeks, and their attendance is, whatever is the improvement, to be able to share that, and then proactively sharing that on a regular basis, so that you don't get as much pushback, so that they do understand that what we do really does make a difference.
Right.
Data drives. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Ginger raised her hand. Oh.
Yeah, no, and yes, Ginger, I'm so sorry. I think the more that you were talking about when you walk into a room, I think Kim mentioned walking into the room, and at first you're always going to have that, why are you in here? But I have noticed the more that I'm in and out, they're used to it, and they're like, she's just in here again. And they they start to lose that. What are they doing? Are they watching me? And then that, once they know you're partners with them, I think they're not as scared if they're used to seeing that. I'm sorry, Ginger, go ahead.
No, I love that. And I love what everybody's saying. I think what I want to share is that sometimes in our jobs, we just think that our role extends to the kids. But I really feel strongly we have to take care of the educators, of anyone who comes in contact with the kids, including the administration, that even maybe is even sometimes more of our role, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about teaching strategies and all that, the adult is the strategy. That how the adult is feeling directly impacts the child and their performance. It's all about those mirror neurons and how everybody feels. And these teachers are really struggling and have so much on their plate and are being asked to do what is not humanly possible in 24 hours, in a 8-hour day. And so I really feel like we can make more of a difference and impact further if we just care for them and care for each other, so that then that will build the capacity for them to care for the kids. So they will be more open to what we're teaching. They'll be able to listen to what we're teaching and absorb it, rather than just automatically have that defense wall go up where you're observing me, I'm doing something wrong, and then it just goes nowhere. But I'm here to help you and assist you. And I love how Mallory talked about sugarcoating it, because it goes nowhere, if there's all the defenses. So taking care of the educators, taking care of each other, so that then they can go in, because there is a million strategies, and what's going to work for one kid is different for another, and all of that. And I think the more important part is everybody needs to feel safe in the building, especially the educators. They're tired. So lifting them in any way we can.
I love that.
Relationship.
And that's why we're here. That's what we're doing today. That's why you guys that's what we're trying to do, is we know this is hard. How can we support and help each other? So thank you guys. That's perfect, Ginger.
Beth, did you want to say something?
I just had the one word, relationships.
Yes.
Building those relationships, and when you can build those relationships, then you can they'll be more comfortable with you in the room. They'll be more comfortable with hearing you, and they do need that validation, because we don't always get that.
You're right. And I love that Jess recognizes that the role of the school counselor is a leader, not an administrator, but a leader. And it's all about building these relationships. That's what a leader does. And it's everything that you guys have said, where you recognize that the person in the job is an expert and you're validating. This is just so wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts? We'll go to the next question. Okay, this looks like a situational question. Okay. This is from Shalita. And she says, I have a student who makes inappropriate comments and gestures to classmates and teachers. The parent wants a 504 for behavior. Any thoughts on things we can implement through the 504? So I'd say maybe she's wanting some strategies or something to put in there.
Oh, this is some practical stuff.
Yep.
For obscene gestures
and inappropriate comments. And the parent wants a 504.
Okay.
I always wonder, before we move into a 504, like what is the expected response from the student? Like what are they trying to achieve with this? Because I work with middle school students. Sometimes they're gonna make inappropriate comments or gestures. Sometimes it's attention seeking. Mm-hmm. And if that's one of the cases, then I will work with that student and the teacher to redirect that attention. And so one of the ways that I've done it is with behavior goals. Like I used to call them behavior contracts, but they're really not. Or you're just sitting down, you talk with the teacher and you ask, what do you want to see changed in the classroom for this student? So you give them input. You talk to the student and ask, create 3 to 5 goals with them that you can track with them and do like a check-in, check-out with them. And then you talk to the family and see what everybody's aligned with wanting and what their end goal is. especially when it comes to inappropriate gestures or comments. It could seriously just be that the student wants attention. And I found that if I can see what rewards that they want, and if I can help incorporate those rewards, like maybe on a Friday they meet with me and we play Uno or something to where they are getting the attention that they want, then that'll help redirect them. So I would do any of those things before I would move into a 504, unless in this extreme situation.
I might have missed this too. What was the age level?
You know
Of the
what? It
student?
doesn't say.
I was
Doesn't
thinking
say.
because I work with elementary students, so at pre-K to fourth grade, but I've worked with middle school as well. And I do think sometimes they're just trying to fill that need for attention. There's a couple things that like follow-up questions I would have, for the person who asked the question, just thinking about it is, first of all, like, what is happening in the room when this usually happens? Is it like during like a mini lesson? Is it during a more unstructured time? Because I know one of the things I always help teachers with is different types of engagement strategies, which is what my session was all about. But I think being able to sometimes offering more opportunities to respond, like for appropriate things for the whole class, can mitigate that. Even just, having, like for my elementary students, I will often say, instead of just asking a question, have them raise their hands. I might say, if you think this, put your hands on your head. If you think this, wave your hands in the air or something, just offering more opportunities. Or sometimes I just using something that makes it more interactive or incorporating more movement. Sometimes we'll just in general have that student feel more seen that way. If it's more extreme and it's a bigger need, sometimes having that student have a particular role, or if you have a way for different students to be like leaders during whatever lesson it is that you're doing. I know I do this in my classroom lessons, being able to say, oh, you get to be, the listening leader today. Can you keep an eye on it and let me know when you notice someone who's doing a nice job listening? Or giving them, can you hold this sign for me? Or can you tell us what, explain how to do something if they're wanting to have that helping role. So I think not knowing the situation, it's hard to give specific feedback, but I just think that sometimes just there are ways that you can do something, even whole class, that might help mitigate the behavior.
So if you're listening, when you hear this, who asked that question, again, a 504 is to level the playing field. So, but I don't know that giving a 504 just for gestures, as Mr. B says, John, I'm sorry. I know
we just call you Mr. B. Sorry.
I can't help it. As you guys are saying, and she may have tried everything, and I'm not saying, but I'm agreeing, like, what is the behavior goals and what skill is missing? Because if you're just band-aiding it for that classroom, you're really not getting. So I'm not saying a 504, because sometimes in our system, if a parent asks for it, they're going to get it. So I'm not saying they don't get a 504, but I'm almost like, that doesn't fix
It's not the
problem.
go-to, right?
No, it's a band-aid for behaviors.
Mhm.
And so I'm agreeing. I think you would need more information on this, and I would be looking for those behavior goals.
Mallory?
Yes, thank you. Yes, and to be punny in this situation, since this is the behavior detour, pump the brakes on the 504. There are some things that you can do before that. And like we've said, there are situations that absolutely need a 504. But I think there are many things you can try in this situation before you just hand that over. And like Kim said, depending on what the grade level is, do a social story. Have them help you write it. Have them make the pictures. Have them be in the pictures. Again, depending on what level it is. But my first couple of years of counseling, we had a kid, pretty much the same situation, and I'm at the elementary level. And he was just looking for laughs and attention, like you all have mentioned. So we actually gave him 3 minutes of joking around with the whole class. Like it was stand-up time for whatever the kid's name was. And it was literally his time. The entire 3 minutes were all on him. And we gradually, made it shorter. But it soon lost its effectiveness because we gave it to him.
Oh.
So that was kind of a fun idea too. And then, of course, we had to prep him. You can't say anything inappropriate. These are the jokes you can tell. But that's a life skill too.
Yes.
and public speaking and reading the room. And so again, it kind of lost its effectiveness, and he didn't really like that anymore because we gave him what he wanted. So maybe try that too, and have him have a job like Kim mentioned and other people mentioned, and maybe he can do the joke of the day for the whole school on the announcements or for the class, but doing something to feed that need.
That's perfect.
Very good. And I'm just glancing at the chat. Carrie, I see your hand. And I also see where you wrote that you develop success plans. I love that phrase, success plans. I think that's a great idea. And then Kim had said, right as Mallory said joke of the day, Kim had typed in the chat to add a joke of the day bucket and let the student read those out during different parts of the day. I love that. So Carrie, I know you raised your hand. What wisdom are you going to impart to us?
I was going to just say sometimes too, like depending on how long this has been going on, just asking the student, like, what is going on? I noticed that you're doing this, this, and that. What is happening? Is there something bothering you? We had a student just the other day that she's been doing so much better, and all of a sudden, like, she must have went to the nurse's office 10 times the other day. And she's running in the hallway without shoes on, sliding, and telling me that she's sick. And so I finally I saw her so many times in the hallway. I said, hey, come here, let's talk. What is going on? And she told me that they were getting evicted from their house. They were moving far away. She only had 8 more days of school at our building. Like, no wonder. And so sometimes just finding out what's going on and letting them tell their story can also detour that crazy behavior.
Of that.
Yeah.
Every behavior tells a story.
That's true. That is true. I do want to open the floor to any participants that we have. We've got a few more questions here, but if anybody in the audience has a question, then you're welcome to unmute and ask it or raise your hand and I will call on you. I'll move on to the next question.
Okay.
Okay. This is from Hillary. She says, I have a 6th grade student who is very much a rule follower. He has very strong reactions when other students don't follow the rules. For example, the other day, he banged his head so hard on a window that it broke the glass. He has an IEP, and we're looking for some strategies we can put in his IEP to help him if he's in a similar situation again. We've shown him how to contact the principal, assistant principal, and counselor to let them know that he needs to leave the room. He is able to wear noise-canceling headphones. Are there any other ideas?
Can you repeat what happened right, or did they say what happened right before it was that they wanted everything to be the rules or something?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think the other students, when they don't follow the rules in the
didn't
classroom,
follow the rules.
That's the trigger for him.
That's the trigger. So knowing the trigger is super important, but that is something that's going to happen every day, right? That need to be flexible and that everything's not going to go that way. So maybe someone else can chime in here. I just wanted clarification on knowing, because that is such a big reaction, right? To something that is going to happen quite often, I think. And then when you brought up the noise canceling headphones, then I'm thinking, okay, what sensory input is going on that is other triggers? Because doing a sensory audit and but this doesn't sound sensory so much as just the feeling of not being in control, right? Or not having the ability to control the situation. So what kind of control can we give this student? What can, so that we're teaching that life skill of being able to pivot, being able to be flexible when things don't quite go our way. So I don't know. Kim, please.
I was thinking of a a couple things as you were talking, because the first thing I was thinking of was maybe this student could use some more pre-teaching and social stories kind of around this, because you could make it appropriate for the 6th grade level versus some of the younger social stories. So I wonder about that, if that could be helpful, just planning ahead and kind of role playing, like this might happen, so how to react in this case. So having them be able to role play some of that might be helpful. And I was also thinking in general, not knowing what the classroom environment is, it probably depends if it's middle school, it depends on the setting and who's teaching at the time. That I don't know what the environment of the classroom is. If it's more chaotic, it could be harder for that student for sure. And maybe some different, classroom management techniques could be helpful, or like whole class ways to regulate as a whole class, which would help him and would help all the other students. But I also was thinking about ways that you could incorporate something that would be age appropriate, that sort of the class could be managing, being able to manage some different things. I don't know what specific rules are being broken that are triggers for him, or if it's just any rule being broken, whether it's someone interrupting or something more serious. But I do think maybe he could have a job to be able to recognize some really good listeners or people that are doing a really great job in class, and that focuses on the positive. That doesn't focus on, it kind of takes the focus off that everyone doing something wrong and focus on the people who are doing something right.
That is good.
I can almost see this kid, can't you? I mean, I know this kid that just, and everyone is I love these ideas because each of those kids are different, right? But there are some similarities, and I think those social stories, I think what you were just saying, try to change it to where he's looking for kids who are following the rules, and that's in learning to be flexible. I think that SPED teacher, that might be a goal, is those social stories and how to be flexible, and everybody makes mistakes, and working on those OCD patterns or change that hard for that student. So gosh, that's hard. Did you have were some folks writing some things?
Yes, there are some great recommendations in the chat. I also see your hand, Beth, so if you want to give us your thoughts.
I was before Kim was talking, we have and we can see them in our head, those justice keepers. Everybody, they got to keep in line with justice. And when somebody is not doing something right, then they need to be punished and that kind of stuff. So I was simply going to recognizing that with the kid, but a lot of those things that you guys are talking about and reinforcing, while you're putting that in place, while they're learning those things, sometimes they just have to get something out. And so if this young person needs to just get something out, maybe having a little Post-it note to just write a quick little note, except that, so they can get it out and then they don't have to be it hanging out in their head for a little bit longer. But I really like Kim's idea of focusing on that positive piece and looking for the kids who are following the rules and are doing the right thing and are doing the listening. But sometimes maybe dealing with whatever just needs to get out of their system so they can move forward.
I love that. I'm that way. If I have something, I need to put it somewhere so I can move on. And that makes sense. If you have, if they have a way to get it out so they can move on, because that may be what they have to do to move on. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to, Hillary, if you're listening to this in the chat, Ginger has said role playing is a great way to give control and walk through what ways you can feel in control when you feel out of control. Co-regulation during the times the student feels unsafe and there are triggers. And then a lot of people are saying circle of control. There was another one. Yep, circle of control. These are really good recommendations.
Very good. So do we have one more before we break and then we're going to draw?
We do.
Okay.
Okay. Sam has said, I'd like to do a training on behavior. I want to start by talking about classroom environment. What are some practical recommendations I can give on decor, relationships, aesthetics, etc.? So maybe
I would love to say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd love to say just the one. This has been a big thing for me. ADHD has always been something that I've I've just paid a lot of attention to. It's in my family, it's in my blood, whatever, all that. But sometimes I go into teachers' rooms and even when I was a teacher, not just as a counselor, but and as teachers, we want to like fill our walls and we want to put all the things up there, and that can be so distracting to those kids who have focus attention problems anyway. So like limiting, especially like if this is where the room is facing, be very strategic and simplify what the kids are looking at towards this way. You don't need all the things up, and maybe you rotate them throughout the year instead of having them all up, but have some, just like on your papers and on your worksheets, you want to have a white space to help organize the thoughts. That's how your classroom should be as well. That's my tip.
Very good.
I love it. It's so true.
It is true. I feel that way. Just, needing that space.
I would also say focus on more so procedure, systems, and routines. That's where I would start with any of this. Like, have the teachers make a list of all their routines in their classroom, like turning in papers, or how do they get up to sharpen their pencil, or things like that. Like, what is the outcome that you want from that? Are you seeing any issues with that? And have them role play or have them create their own little mini systems that they're actually going to use, not something that, that they're just randomly putting together, something they really feel like they're actually going to use, and modeling that with them to see how you can cut down any behavior concerns. You can cut down with confusion, even with MVPT. I always do that. What's the movement that you're supposed to be doing during this lesson? What's the time frame? The voice level? And then what does participation look like? So if you model all of those things first, and then of course building relationships, but what you don't want to do is want to overload this training with so many different things to where it's like you don't have something that you can walk away with. But I would definitely focus on procedure, systems, and routines.
I will second.
Wonderful.
Huge.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
I agree. I was just thinking, I agree so much about routines and like pre-teaching, because when you're setting up a classroom environment, even school counselors who are going in and going out and going in and going out, you're going into different environments, which can be challenging. And if it's coming from a school counseling perspective, that if you're traveling around to different classrooms like I do, I think it's pre-teaching certain routines is so important, because then it takes a little bit of work at the beginning, but then once you've pre-taught strategies, or even like a call and response thing, or certain movement students do when you say a certain word, it can work just like magic in the moment if you have taken the time to teach it. So I know that I can be in a lesson now and just say one word, and my students will like all stand up and push their chairs in. That's something that took a little bit to teach, but it's just taking the time to pre-teach those routines is really important, and it can make your life so much easier.
Tommy, if we could just wrap that around our head, the time we're putting in at the front, will save so much time at the end. And it's just doing it. And those teachers who have it down pat, and those who for whatever reason are still, every day's a squirrel day. Every day's a new day. This is what we're going to do it today. And that is so confusing. With our ADHD push up in our numbers, it is so hard for kids. Somebody went Harry Wong on the.
I saw that. Yeah, Sam, if you're listening.
Where are you, Sam? That is old school, and I love it.
Beth is the one that recommended Harry Wong.
Okay.
First day of school. So Sam, you might want to check that out.
That's been around since I was like 20. And I know you guys, we were one of you born, but it's been around a long time.
Ginger, I see that you've got your hand raised.
I just want to put in a plug for sensory audits, just the ability to walk through the building ideally, but if you're in your room and notice and have students help you notice what sights, sounds, smells, textures, even the 8 senses, we're talking balance issues, anything else, especially in a SPED classroom or anything else, are causing overstimulation. You had mentioned all the sights and too much input there. Are there smells? Are you right next to the cafeteria? And that is hard for some kids. Are there sounds? Are the lights buzzing? Can we dim the lights? Whatever we can do. a lot of kids will be hypersensitive, and so then we're bringing all that energy down. But it's tricky because we have some kids who are hyposensitive and they're needing more energy. And so those are kids who are going to need more colors or block letters. So can you divide the room for those areas and for those kids? It's so hard when we're talking about individual kids and their needs. So that's why this needs to be done often and individually, and then trying to kind of accommodate that way. But in the building, sometimes those bells are so jarring and alarming. And we have had some schools be able to change their bell system to different tones that are more soothing, or turn the bells off and teachers are doing, their own transitions, not with bells. There's a lot of ways to do it, and a lot of time could be spent on it, but really noticing how the senses are affecting you and the kids. And there can be accommodations made that are simple, and really make a difference in student performance.
Yeah, Beth.
Let me just add one more thing, and this is my favorite thing about Harry Wong's book is I think one of the biggest things that you can make a difference for in your environment with kiddos is greeting them at the door every single day and saying their name. Hi, how are you? Because before anything goes wrong in the classroom, you've got a positive interaction and reinforcing that it's not all bad, So, hi, Fred, how are you doing today? Missed you yesterday if he was absent, that kind of stuff. But I believe that is the single most thing out of that we can do to help create a positive environment, and it's something we can do and we have a lot of control over.
Wow, that's so great. Carrie?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback on that. Like I put relationships, start with relationships.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with the procedures. They have to be in place, but just a name can be so important. And so saying those names in the hallway when you see the kids, even if you say them wrong, you'll get corrected and you'll redo it the right way the next time. But I think that's really important. I have kids that will ask me, do you know every kid's name in this whole school? And I say, I try really hard. But I think that's important, and they remember those things. So, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And Sam, I do want to say that Mallory put in the chat, and I love this. She said, most of us have our own stuff as adults. Kids do too. And so if you could talk to your teachers about having personal desks so that students have a place for their belongings. So I think that's something you may want to mention in your training and just give teachers the choice. So very good.
I love it.
Well said, everyone.
Guys, thank y'all so much for coming on. I learned more at these.
Oh,
and I wish everybody would do these, but everybody's so busy and they'd rather just watch them later and send us the questions. And that's fine. I get so much out of this. Thank y'all for coming. We're going to do a wheel if it didn't go away. Let me pull it back up.
We have a door prize. Ginger, do you want to talk about your book that you have that you want to give away for a door prize?
I'm happy to. I have 3, so that you can choose whichever one fits your needs best.
Okay.
So just a book that's kind of like regulation and co-regulation, theory and understanding, and then strategies, workbook strategies to go along with it, or a small group curriculum if you want to talk about, regulation and co-regulation, but in small groups. It's already done for you in 10 lessons. Whichever book you need the most, you can choose. I don't know if that's too confusing.
No,
that's perfect.
Everybody has different needs, different grade levels.
Yeah.
I have the Wheel of Fortune here, and I'm going to tap it. All of your
I'm
names.
so nervous. This is exciting.
Mal Pal,
you are the winner.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much. I love it. I was putting in the chat. I have her small group book, and it's fantastic.
Oh, I just
so all of you listening, make sure you put that on your wish list. It's a great one.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Ginger. So you get to choose another one then and we'll make sure that we make that happen for
Yes.
you.
Very
Okay.
good.
Anything else? Guys, if y'all can come on
That's so
tomorrow.
nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yay. And that's neat that you're already a fan.
I know.
You're already fanning. So tomorrow at 2. 1
Central,
tomorrow
1
at
Central.
1. We would love to see you. If you can't, we love you. Enjoy this conference. But if you can, you guys are amazing.
I know.
So thank y'all.
Tomorrow's panel has a big
Shoes to fill.
Yes, big shoes to fill.
That's
Thank you.
not a new saying. Love you guys sincerely, and thank you for participating. And are you waving to me, Beth? Or are you saying something?
Oh, fine. Okay. I
Thank
see
you, guys.
hearts. I see celebration. We love you guys.
Thank y'all.
You're just
so much.
amazing.
All right.
Well,
Bye-bye.
I hope y'all will appreciate it, or at least send a thank you this week. So
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. It was fantastic, John, this week. So thank you. Great week.
I know.
Bye
Hey,
bye.
and I also want to thank Laura and Kim for putting this on.
Aw.
Amazing. And Laura, we're so glad you're feeling better. You look like a queen.
Oh,
And
thank
Kim
you.
being by her side.
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
We talk about relationships all the time. And I mean, what a perfect story for that. So
Yeah.
thank you for putting this on.
Thank you guys. It would be nothing without you guys. So we appreciate y'all just jumping in and being patient with us and sticking with us. So thank you.
Even through the illness, it made it a little rough, and
Yeah.
it's a little different this year because she's the workhorse. I'm the show horse, meaning I do nothing but show up. And so I don't know how we did it, but she's had a rough time. And so thank you, Mallory, for acknowledging that.
Well, you wouldn't be able to tell. Everything went by so smoothly.
Oh,
Thank you, John.
you.
I
So
appreciate
true.
y'all.
So
Love y'all
true. And I
much.
was,
See you soon.
Well, Laura, as promised and delivered.
Oh, it couldn't have been better. Couldn't have been better. I mean,
I just did not want that to end. I just enjoyed that so much.
it was so good. And it really is like, I just remember being in that moment and the magic was happening. And it's almost like you get goosebumps and you get a little teary eyed because something you've worked so hard for has come together and it's beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's what that was.
I love it. We hope everybody enjoyed listening to it.
And we will put this show in the show notes. We will put a link to our behavior conference because you can still purchase a ticket. It's on demand. You can watch it at your leisure. And so if you liked those sessions, then you may want more of it. And it's worth 20 hours of professional development credit for you to present to your school system if they feel so
Have
inclined.
those monies available.
You can follow us on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook and rate and review our podcast if you would like to.